Hey guys, I'm Chelsea and this is Create with Chelsea. Today we are going to learn how to do a Motherhood is a walk in the park tumbler. So this one is a single glitter, but as you can see it is a color shift. So there's still a multicolor look to it. You can do this with multicolor glitters, which I will post some pictures and show you some pictures of ones I've done that are different colored glitter like randomly before we start. Hope you enjoy the tutorial. Hey guys, so today we are starting a Motherhood is a Walk in the Park Peekaboo Tumbler. I'm going to be glittering it with the epoxy method. Normally for a tumbler like this I would use up to 5 different colors of glitter, and I will post I'll put some pictures up of other ones that I've done so you can see that the different looks. For this one the customer is just wanting this one color shift glitter. This one is Aquatic from Scarlet Creations, and I will link the link to this in the description below. So don't want to get epoxy all over my sheets here. Okay, so I've got my epoxy mixed up, and I use Artworks epoxy from thecraftattack.com for anyone that is interested in that. As I've said in other videos, doing the epoxy method, you want to spread it out pretty thin. Sorry if my kids playing in the background bugs anybody. I am a mom, and that's just what happens when you're a mom. Hopefully they're not too loud. They're in the other room, so. I think I got a pretty good coverage. Oh, nope, missed a spot. Good thing I double checked that. Okay, this one over. Need those anymore. A lot of people wonder how you get chunky glitter to lay flat. So I'm going to show you how I do it. So I've got it in this little cup I got from Dollar Tree, and it has a lid so you don't even have to put it back into.
Mommy, this is
Okay. Sorry about that.
Don't get water cold again.
Okay.
I do that.
Okay, baby. So you're just gonna take some between your fingers, and it is a process, especially doing an entire cup, but it pays off.
Mommy, can I please have one of these again? Please.
So you can do a bigger pinch if you want, and then just pat it down. And you will have to keep going over that same spot, especially with the white background, so you can get the full coverage. So we're just gonna go at it. And pat it down some. I think you've got the technique for that and that down now. It's pretty flat. So I'm gonna get the rest of this glittered and I'll be back. Okay guys, so we have it glittered for the most part. There's some stuff that needs to be touched up, but as you can see, there is some stuff sticking up. So there's two ways that you can do this. You can just take your finger and pat it down, which is what I do most of the time. And then that also reveals places that I need to touch up. You really want to make sure you get near the edge of the cup because you don't want them sticking up too high if you don't need them to be. With chunky, it's not that easy, but we will probably just have to sand those pieces that are sticking up too much because we don't want white spots. I mean, with this one, it's not a huge deal if we have white spots because it's a peekaboo. So I'm not going to worry too much about them, but I do want this glitter to lay pretty flat. It's okay to have some of it raised because of the cup that it is going to be. So when getting it'll look kind of not rustic, that's not the word I'm looking for, kind of fossilized when I do the white over the top of it. So again, I did say that there was two ways that you can do this to pat it down. Let me show you the second way. So you just take a piece of parchment paper and I don't like it doing it this way. I feel like, see, it moved. It is flat, it is super flat, but it also gave me a bunch of white. I don't know if you can see it right there. See, it gave me a bunch of white, which now I'm gonna go back over. Again, like I said, with this one, it's not huge deal if you have the white because it's a peekaboo, and we'll just make sure that part stays covered. But I still don't want a whole lot of white. I want it to be I think we're pretty flat for the most part here. There's a couple pieces here and there that are still sticking up a little more than I would like, but that will also give this cup a little bit of a cooler effect, and you can see the color change on it. I'm pretty excited about that. Alright, so we're going to let this sit so that the epoxy can dry and the glitter stays where it's supposed to be. And then we'll come back and I'm going to go ahead and epoxy this one time before I come back on. And then when we come back, we will do the peekaboo method. Hey guys, so I epoxied this one time. It's still a little rough, but that's how we want it, so it gives the spray paint a rough look.
I want to watch my video.
I've got my decals weeded. I figured it'd be easier to go ahead and have them weeded so we can just move right along. So I'm going to decide, I want it right here, I think. Sometimes this one is a little tricky. There we go. And it's not perfect, but that's okay. Now we will just randomly pick places. Move that over just a little bit. So what I'm going to try and do is, we have that little bit of white showing through that didn't get the best coverage. I want to put my decals near it so that I know not to take that part off. Put the Mom Life kind of at an angle on the other side.
I was going there.
On the other side here. Also like to put one on the bottom. I think it looks cute. So I'm going to just keep randomly placing these throughout the cup. And I have some different sized ones. You can do some smaller ones. And with this, it doesn't really matter what color they are because this vinyl is going to be removed in the end. So I'm just gonna make this a little smaller to make it easier to work with. Let's do one of these smaller. I think that's enough of the tracks, but let's put a couple more claw marks on there. And remember, you don't want too many of these because you're going to do the distressed look with the spray paint as well. Let's put one there. Let's do one more, maybe. Well, actually, I think that's good. So we have room to do the little distress marks too. So we'll get our decals on, and I'm gonna get set up outside, and we'll continue this there. Okay, it's really hot and a little windy, so we're gonna do this kind of quick. I've got my cup already here, and I'm gonna use matte white. Spray it a couple times first, and then And you see how the reason I didn't do the second coat is because I love this look on it where it looks rough. We're gonna let this dry about 20 or 30 minutes and then we'll come back and finish it. Hey guys, we are back. So our cup is dry. Now what you need is your weeding tool, and you'll just start pulling the decals up. They will stick to your hands.
Mommy, put us in her eyes.
Make it easier to hold without that.
Mommy! Put us in her eyes.
I let it dry a little longer than I normally do, but I think it looks good.
We don't have one.
With the smaller letters, just be careful where you grab them, especially if they have like a hole in the center like the R and the A, because sometimes it will pull the, like it pulled a little bit extra spray paint up right there, but I don't think it will be a big deal. We almost got this decal completely pulled up.
I'm done, Mommy. Look.
Chair doesn't want to move. Sorry about that. I know that made you a little shaky. Okay, so I'm gonna get this decal finish pulled off, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we'll start the next step. Okay guys, we are back. We've got everything weeded out. So now we're gonna move on to the next step. First thing you need is sandpaper. I use a sanding block, you don't have to. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna just sand away a little bit of the spray paint in some of the areas. I'm gonna do whole hole.
Mom, I don't know how to pull my table up.
So again, we're just sanding a little bit of it away. I might need, let me grab a stronger sand, a thicker grit, I mean. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're not gonna do this in a whole lot of areas, but just a couple small ones. Didn't do like I wanted, but we can fix that. Okay, so next you're gonna want acetone and a paper towel. Get all the sanding off of there. You're just gonna put some acetone on your paper towel. We'll start right here where we messed up. And you'll just make your little swooshes. Make sure you move to a different part on the paper towel because see how much cleaner that looks. There's no exact science to this. You just follow your heart, and I know that's silly to say, but you just do what looks good to you. No two cups like this are the same. There too. I don't know why, but it just, yeah. Just clean up that, because you see the smears on it from the paint. One right there. Usually do a little on the bottom as well. Just do it right here. And I think that looks good. So when we come back, we will epoxy it. Okay guys, so we're gonna finish up this cup. I'm just heating my epoxy. I only heat part A, or the resin part, and for me I just put it in some really hot water, and it works very well that way. So you need to make sure that you mix it very well. And that the epoxy is clear again. The epoxy I use is called Artworks from the Craft Attack, and I have the gallon jug, or the 2-gallon, and I have the pump on it. So how I measure, I just measure by pump. So this is 2.5 pumps. And because of all of the little fossilized look thing that we were going for, I am going to do extra epoxy on this, more than I would normally do. So normally I would do, on the final coat of one of these, I would do either 2 pumps or 1.5 pumps, depending on the size of the cup. So now we're just going to get it covered up. And so I take a little bit and I spread it around as much as I can so that I can get an even coat. Epoxy is self-leveling. There's a hair stuck on that. Got it. I think. I hope. Yeah. But I still like to make sure that I get an even coat, and I make sure that I get the entire cup coated. Now, because of all the bumps that I purposely did on this one, it's going to need at least 1 more coat. But with this flood coat that we're doing right now, and flood coat is just extra epoxy, it will hopefully only need 1 more coat and not 2. But it is going to need some sanding after this. So I've got the epoxy pretty much on the whole cup. And now I'm going to use my silicone. It's a makeup brush pretty much, but I'm going to use that to move the rest of the epoxy around to help get those little areas. This helps with the flood coat. It flattens it out but doesn't completely, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it, but it helps with flood coats a lot. I'm just making sure that the bottom gets fully coated. Okay, and we will let that spin, and we will come back to finish it up. Hey guys, just move this one out the way. So we are back to finish this Motherhood as a Walk in the Park cup. I did put one more coat of epoxy on it since our last video, or last part of the video. So now I'm going to show you how to finish it up because it does need another coat and some sanding. So I use these wet sanding blocks. You can use sandpaper, or you can use whatever you prefer. But there are some spots that are still super bumpy or didn't get epoxy very well. We're just going to sand those super bumpy parts off and then clean it and epoxy it one more time. So this is how I do mine. I do the whole cup. I don't just do the little spots. You want to get good around the lip of the cup. You want to make sure that that is nothing is sticking out right there when someone's going to drink from it, you know. And then I also like to get really good around the bottom rim of the cup because I'm weird and I don't like it to be bumpy. Like, I don't want my personal cup to be that way, so I'm not going to let my customers' cups be that way, if that makes sense. I'll just get it really good around the rim, or the bottom. And then, of course, on the bottom. So once that's sanded, I just double check that there's not, like right there, I feel like that's better. I just double check that it's as smooth as I can get it. And then this is 70% alcohol in this square bottle, and I just spritz a little bit on the napkin and wipe all that epoxy dust off. And now you are ready to epoxy it again. So let's get it on the turner. And then let me get my epoxy mixed. I'm gonna do, I did 3 pumps this time, just to make sure that I get a really good coat and get all those little bumps. And I've had my epoxy heating. So I may not use all of this, but I just want to make sure that I get a really good coat. If there's some left, maybe I'll stick it in a mold or something. I don't know. And you just want to make sure it's good and mixed. If you can see any, it's not going to be easy to see on camera, but especially with how full this is. You want the epoxy to be clear when you're done mixing. Mine is going to have some bubbles just because I'm impatient and I don't mix it slowly like it tells you to. But it looks pretty clear to me. And we're trying to spread this out the same way we did it last time. And you want to make sure that you get the bottom of the cup really well. So my cup is pretty well coated, but I'm gonna add some more because I still have some left. And like I said, I wanna make sure that I get all those little grooves that are still not completely epoxied. Like there was one right there. And then there was one on the bottom that was like a little hole. I want my cup to be as smooth as possible. And hopefully I don't have to epoxy it again after this. Normally it only takes 1 or 2 coats after the spray paint part. But this is the 3rd on this one. But I don't always use chunky glitter. So normally when it's just the 1 or 2 coats, it's a fine glitter mix underneath. So that could be it. Alright, so I still have a little bit left, but I think it's pretty well coated. We'll let this spin for a few hours, and then hopefully that is our last coat of epoxy. After 20 minutes or so, I will hit it with my heat gun just to get out any bubbles that may be in it. Like I see a couple right there already. We'll let this spin and I'll be back to show you the finished cup. Okay guys, so the cup is almost finished. We have, it's smooth. There's a couple of little spots, but not super worried about them. So now I'm gonna show you how to, you see all this epoxy inside? I'm gonna show you how to clean that up without messing up the seal on your cup. So what you are going to need is, sorry, I forgot to grab this. So you're gonna need acetone, X-Acto knife, and a paper towel, or a towel that you use for epoxy or acetone. So you want to put some acetone on it, and you're going to run it along the inside. You're going to take your X-Acto knife, and you're going to very slowly and carefully run your X-Acto knife around the rim first. You always want to do this first because that way if there's a piece that is connected to the epoxy over here and you pull it up first, you have a chance of ripping a chunk out of your epoxy, and then you'll have to sand and re-epoxy. So you want to just, some spots will be tougher than others. I usually wait between when the cup is dry to the touch up into the next day. I don't want to wait till it's fully cured because it makes it a little bit harder to get off. Okay, I think I got everything on the rim. So now for these big pieces inside, you'll just take your knife and poke it into it, and it's still a little soft, so just, even when it's more cured than this, more likely than not, you'll be able to just pop it right off like that. Just be careful not to scratch too much. See, that was all on the epoxy. There was nothing on the side of the cup. I usually just let it fall into the cup and then I dump it out after I'm completely finished, just to keep all the little pieces of epoxy together in the same spot so I can dump them in the trash. Oh, that one flung at me. I have to remember to pick it up off the floor. So we have a couple more pieces here. So once you finish getting these few pieces off, just take your cup and dump it out, and they usually just come right out. And then you're gonna take your acetone again and run it all along the inside of the cup. This will get out any leftover epoxy, and it'll also show you if you missed any epoxy, and then also if you have any overspray from spray paint, it will get that right out too. So I missed a little bit right there. Just gonna double check that it is not attached. If y'all hear my kids playing in the background, they're in the other room, but they're really loud, so I apologize. Alright. We're just gonna repeat this process again with the acetone. We want to make sure we get all that epoxy out of the inside of this cup. Some of it's being a little stubborn. I think that looks pretty good. You can see I think I got all of the epoxy. So what you would do from this step is you will wash the cup with soap and water and then make sure that it cures for 72 hours, and then you are good to go to pass it on to your customer, which this one will be shipped out on Saturday. Today's Tuesday. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If this helped you out in any way, please like and subscribe.